Yeah, so it's come to my attention recently that trauma dumping is a thing. And at first, when I heard it, I was like, what is this trauma dumping thing? Trauma dumping, what is trauma dumping? Is this trying to villainize talking to your friends about your traumas? Are we not allowed to talk about our traumas anymore? Is that what's happening? I was very confused. I learned that trauma dumping is about sharing a really deep trauma about yourself, or a trauma that you've experienced in your life, in your childhood, or recently, uninvited or unsolicited, or not taking into account how receptive the other person is going to be to you sharing your traumas. And then so you dump all your traumas onto this person who is not ready, who isn't receptive, who didn't ask for it, so it's completely unsolicited. And it puts the other person in a position where they don't know how to react because they didn't ask for it. They didn't realize that you're just about to unload some really deep, dark things about yourself. So trauma dumping can make people really uncomfortable when it's uninvited. So what I wanted to talk about with trauma dumping is how come only recently this phenomenon has popped up, right? So there must be a reason, I believe. I hope there's a reason. Is it because there is more trauma in the world now? Or the trauma that people have is really, really traumatizing or really deep and really dark, that suddenly this phenomenon has popped up? Is it that people are not understanding the receptiveness of other people when sharing their deep traumas? Or is it that we have come to a place now where we're not prepared to understand other people's traumas when they share that with us? I'm not sure which one of those is happening now, but I do think that the reason that trauma dumping has become a buzzword recently is for a reason. The reason is for a reason. I mean, the reason is something's changed, something's different. There's actually another option. Is it that we are not able to deal with our own traumas like we used to, and so now the way we internalize our trauma becomes so personal to us that when we share it with some other person, it becomes like a dumping, like it becomes like a unleashing and unloading situation for them? Is that what's going on? I mean, I'm just asking questions here because I'm trying to figure out what this trauma dumping situation is. I mean, contrary to the title, I'm not dumping my traumas to you today. So if you came here to be trauma dumped, sorry, I'm not going to dump my traumas onto you. But I do want to understand why. And I'm not going to make an assertion or a claim. I'm just asking questions as to why. Why has trauma dumping become a thing? Are we heavily traumatized now, like we never before? Do we not know how to deal with our traumas like we used to? Are we not as receptive to receiving and understanding other people's traumas like we used to? Or is it that we can't understand whether the other person's receptive or not, so we just dump it anyway, and we're not able to sort of infer from their body language or something that they're not ready to receive all these deep, dark secrets about ourselves? Or do we just want to make people uncomfortable? This option I did not consider because I like to think good of people. I don't think there's people going around trying to make people uncomfortable, but there might be. Is it because feeling like a victim makes you feel empowered? Now, it sounds contradictory, but feeling like a victim gives you an identity. And so that identity becomes clarity. It becomes something predictable that you can hold on to, as opposed to the stress of, why did they do to me? Why did I allow them to do this? Why did I have to go through this? Why am I so this and why am I so that? And why did this have to happen? Instead of all these questions, you have one mode of, let's say, clarity, where you feel like, okay, this is my identity, and you're not left in the chaos of questions. You're now in the very calm waters of order. Yes, I am a victim. This is my identity. And then if someone asks how you're doing, you cling to your victim identity because it's what you know to be true and you're sure about it. You're not sure about all the other things. Let's not go into the stressful situations of not knowing. We want to be in the areas of knowing. So then you start giving reasons why you hold on to that victim mentality, and so it just becomes a cycle from there. Maybe that's what's happening. I would like to know what some of my viewers think about it. What do you think about trauma dumping? What does it mean to you? Do you think that traumas are meant to be shared with anyone and everyone? Do you think that traumas are meant to be kept to ourselves completely and not be shared with anyone and just dealt with on our own because we need our inner strength and we need our resilience, and we go through our own traumas and we deal with our own traumas and we move forward in life? I've just presented two extremes there. There's every gray in between. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you think it puts the other person in an uncomfortable situation? Do you think that trauma dumping is something that we just need to get used to? Maybe we're just not used to it. Do you think that the traumas that we're experiencing in this modern world have become so extreme that when we do share something, it becomes like a trauma dump because the depth of that trauma is so deep? Or is it that we don't know how to deal with traumas anymore, and therefore it becomes a sort of like an issue ever present in our minds, and we haven't come to some sort of acceptance or some sort of resolution, or we haven't overcome that trauma in ourselves, and so it results in a situation where you have those traumas and they feel really, really traumatizing. Do we just need better skills to be able to deal with our traumas? Are we lacking skills in this modern world? Is it a lack of socialization? Loneliness is something that's been an issue. Loneliness was an issue even before the pandemic. There was an epidemic of loneliness years before the lockdowns hit. Now, loneliness results in isolation. It's sort of a catch-22, because when you're lonely, you're isolated, but you're isolated because you're lonely, and it's sort of like a cycle that kind of feeds itself. So being lonely and being isolated, not interacting with people as much, that can be a traumatizing thing in itself. As humans, we are social creatures. We love to socialize. We thrive in a community, in a society that is healthy and supports us. If we cannot find our tribe, if we cannot find the group that we relate to, well, what are we going to do? We're probably going to isolate ourselves, or we might try to find that group online, and that becomes another reliance where we can become so reliant on our communities online. We can feel so connected to our online communities that we don't actually take the effort to reach out into our actual community in real life. And so it's kind of something that feeds itself. Like, I'm online because there's no community out there, and the only reason there's no community out there because you're online. I mean, you could be the first one to create that community in person, and it takes bravery, it takes courage. It's not easy, but we cannot survive without real life human interaction. Yes, we need our communities in person. We need our real life communities. we cannot just survive purely with online communities. They are great when you cannot find a real life community. It's almost like supplements. You have your base nutrition and then you supplement it with things that you're missing in your base nutrition, or you can't get it, or for whatever reason. So these online communities can be really good to kind of supplement your already existing social life. They can even optimize your existing social life. But when online communities become your primary source of socialization, that can become an issue in terms of the sense of belonging that you're gonna feel. Just the physical fact, for example, of hugging. You cannot hug a computer. I mean, you can hug a computer, but the hug is another really powerful gesture that you can share with another human being. It results in both parties feeling all these feel-good hormones. It just makes you feel really good. But when you're missing that and you're purely online, you can start to feel lonely even though you have a huge community online. So this went from trauma dumping to online communities bad. Online communities are not bad. We like online communities. I'm trying to create an online community as we speak.